Hi, my name is Todd Sepulveda, and today I have a message for pastors, shepherds, overseers, or really anyone who does ministry in a local church. It's a question that you might not have thought about, but something that you might want to put some plans in place, just in case. And so here's a question for you. Do you have a plan in place that would ensure that the gospel is preached and that ministry can continue in your local community if for some reason the church doors were not able to be open? So again, let me say that again. Do you have a plan in place or some contingencies in place that would ensure that the gospel message continues to get out and also that ministry is able to happen in your community if for some reason your church doors were not able to open? Now, we can look at a couple of different perspectives here. And on one side, churches always have the possibility of there might be a fire for whatever reason happening. There might be damage due to windstorms and other kinds of storms. There might be flooding, which would allow a local congregation not to meet in their church building. And definitely I've seen that in my own community with Hurricane Ike coming through. Churches worked together to help each other out while church buildings were fixed. But on another level, this is where you probably need to put some plans in place, is what would happen in an economic downturn. And so for instance, in 2008, during that downturn, I know that a lot of churches, a lot of local congregations were hurt. What winds up happening in an economic downturn is that your members get pinched in their finances, and instead of giving and tithing and that kind of stuff continues going on, they pull back a little bit on that to make sure that they meet the needs of their family, that they can pay for food, that they can keep their own lights on, that they can pay for their own utilities. And again, the tithes and the offerings to the local church tend to be pinched and tend to hurt and tend to fall down. I know that that's happened a lot. I know a lot of ministers that happened to in the Houston area during 2008. I know that a lot of churches are on the brink. Sometimes churches are going month to month. Sometimes they have little in reserves, little capital to draw from. And so one thing that I would like pastors and other church leaders to think about is if tithes and offerings dropped by 10% or 25% or even 50%, could the church continue to operate? Could you continue to keep the lights on? Could you continue to pay the rent or the mortgage? Could you continue to pay your staff members? And if not, what would happen? So I encourage you to get with your church accountant. I would encourage you to get with your church secretary, whoever handles the finances. Ask how much money is there in the budget. Ask how much money is there in reserves, just in case something wants to happen. Now, we're in curious times right now. And it's not just the fringe people that are talking about the bad economic status. We know that little hiccups that happen in other parts of the world can cause big tidal waves here in America, and vice versa. And so one of the things that I really think pastors and leaders should be thinking about is how can we continue to spread the gospel? How can we continue to meet the needs of our congregation? How can we meet the needs of the community if for some reason the finances weren't coming in? And I get it. Being a former pastor, I know that you are studying, you're reading your Bible, you're praying, you're planning and programming, and you have all these ideas. Some of you might even be in a new church growth season where you are building another building or spreading out. And some of these kinds of things and thinking about this is kind of scary. But I think as a shepherd and a pastor, as an overseer, as a church leader, you put yourself in that responsibility that you are responsible for ministering to your flock and to the community. So it doesn't cost a lot. It does just a little bit of your time to gather your leaders together and to think about putting a plan in place. Think about what it would look like. Think about what you would do. And to make sure, because the most important thing is that ministry continues to happen. So we're in curious times right now, and I would just continue to pray for all churches out there and all pastors that they continue to be bold and preach the message and let God be glorified. If I can help you in any way, I'm not selling a program, I'm not selling any kind of book or anything like that, but if I can help maybe answer some questions and help point you in the right direction, getting some thoughts together, I would be happy to do that. My information, my contact information will be below the video, and I'll also link to another article that might be useful. And if you are a church member, you are a member of a congregation, local congregation, I would encourage you to take this video and forward it to your pastor and just ask, hey, what if tithes and offerings, what if the finances of this of our congregation weren't being met? What would happen? Do you have a plan in place? And then again, lastly, ministers, if things do dry up, if the economy does get bad and you are a full-time minister and your church can't afford to pay you, I want you to think about what you're going to do to provide for your own family. I mean, you're responsible for that as well. I encourage every pastor to have another means of income, a second stream of income coming in with some skill or something that you do. I think that's just wisdom. So again, I pray that this is a plan that you think about. Hopefully you never ever need it, but if you do, you'll already have something in place. God bless you.